Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're back here with some more BIOS. I've been playing this game quite a bit actually over the last couple of days, and I got to some of the further levels in the game, and I kind of want to talk about how they change up the formula a little bit, and also some more of my feelings for the game now that I've sunk some more time into it, and some of the things that I'd like to see, change and perhaps be altered moving into the future. But the two maps that we're going to be taking a look at today, the two levels, are Nixon and Kennedy. The first one you're seeing right now is Nixon. It's sort of an underground parking garage littered with cars and a lot of tucked away hidden, you got laser turrets, we've got rocket turrets, a few grenade turrets. It's definitely a difficult level, but unlike the early levels like Alpha and Beta and Delta and even Gamma, rather than focusing on sort of corridor rushes with a really high focus on sprinting from one location to another, clearing out targets, Nixon and Kennedy focus more on target elimination with minimal movement. And I like this because, again, it sort of changes the pace a little bit, and while you're still required to be very precise, there's a much larger focus simply on shooting. And I'm okay with that. I really do like that. And I think Nixon is kind of a nice balance. But the one issue that I have with both Nixon and Kennedy after playing them so much is that there is really no reason to move forward in the level at times. There's too many times, especially in the harder difficulty for Nixon, you'll see later, for Kennedy, it really shines, where the player can spend a lot of their time eliminating just about every single target while stuck behind, the initial starting wall, which is indestructible from rocket fire. That's something I would like to see change. I like the idea of these turrets and the rockets actually forcing the player to progress through the level, to move to different pieces of cover, perhaps destroying the cover they're behind, or just doing larger amounts of splash damage to prevent them from sort of camping one specific area. And I do think that the design of some of the levels, you kind of see it here in Nixon in this underground map, it can be a little bit clustered on the ground level with the cars. There isn't really like a clear path to navigate through the level. And I guess it's kind of up to the player to make their own level, but I would like to see I would like to see a little bit more pronounced openings between the cars, make it a little bit easier for the player to kind of push through from one area to the next. Because right now I'm sort of jumping on top of the cars and it feels a bit odd, it feels out of, it doesn't feel smooth. And I think that if this game can get to that point where it does, I'm rewarded for my memory, my muscle memory, my ability to shoot, and my ability to navigate the level quickly. Once you can do that sort of thing and it all starts to feel really fluid, that's a reward within itself. I'm not just worried about fighting for my time then. There's this satisfaction behind clearing a level very quickly and very efficiently without getting caught up on any ledges and eliminating targets very rapidly. That to me is a huge reward for this type of a game in itself, and I think if they can better capture that in these tight-knit levels, and even levels like Alpha and Gamma, I think it's already there in the early levels. Alpha, Delta, there's not a lot of obstructions, so it's easier to get that flow going. And maybe it's just me having to memorize the levels a little bit more, but I just think that, the levels could be straightened out a little bit more and cleaned up. There's a bit too much excess clutter, and it's not really benefiting, it's not really providing an extra challenge as much as it is just getting in the way. So that's one sort of complaint that I would have with Nixon and Kennedy that I would like to see tweaked. I have to say that Kennedy doesn't really have a lot of clutter like Nixon does, but again, I want to see a reason to move out behind cover. You'll see it, you're seeing it in that clip. I'm just kind of sitting behind the fence, and there's no real reason for me to leave that position. The rocket turrets cannot eliminate that fence. I don't have a reason to push up. I can simply sit there, eliminate all targets within my line of sight, and then move forward. I don't know if that was their initial intention, but I'd like to have a reason once again to be forced to navigate the level while eliminating targets, move to the next piece of cover, pick off targets, and have to build my sort of success for that level around that, not just around sitting behind one piece of cover throughout. But both of these levels, and I guess you could even say Baltic I just found to be a really hard level that I haven't spent much time with yet anyways. But both these levels, Nixon and Kennedy, as I said, they highlight the shooting aspect of the game a little bit more, and I like that, how there's this sort of altered focus. In the early game, it seems like it's a little bit more about speed. The shooting, while it is still important, it's not nearly as important as it is in these final two levels. There's a much larger focus on simply eliminating targets as quickly as possible. It really requires you to have a quick trigger hand and to be able to make focus. This does start to highlight that I feel the rifles just don't have a solid feel just yet, the one rifle that you get in game, but I do feel like it's kind of unnecessary to call that out at such an early point in the development. This game is in alpha state right now, and I just want to say it because I know the devs are watching. I appreciate them for highlighting my video on their Steam page. That was really awesome. And, you know, I just want to give them my honest feedback about ways certain things feel so they can sort of work with that. And I imagine that they have a lot of ideas and thoughts as to how they want to modify and change the game already. You know, they're really just in early access because they need the funding for the game. So that's why I'm more than happy to continue to cover this game on my channel, because I feel like it definitely deserves the attention. I feel like there's a huge amount of potential here for this game, and I'm really excited about seeing where it goes into the future. I know they already pushed out a ton of small patches. That's one thing I really want to talk about. We had point of view. You now have a POV slider, which I was happy to see that the default POV was actually 90, which is exactly what I play at, so that was cool. I didn't have to mess around with that. And a few other bug fixes for certain users who were having crashes and things of that nature. They also pushed out again, a couple other small micro patches to kind of just stabilize the game a little bit more. So that was nice to see. It does appear that the leaderboards have already been compromised. I'm seeing people on Kennedy with like 6-second times. Definitely not legit. I don't think you can even walk out of the start in 6 seconds, so that's kind of upsetting, but I know it's definitely not one of their concerns right now, and I'm not too concerned about it. You can kind of see the gap on the leaderboards when it's like, you know, 6 seconds, 10 seconds, or, you know, I'm sorry, like 1 minute, 1 minute, 10 seconds, and then all of a sudden it just jumps down to 10 seconds, and that's obviously not legit. Now, something I'm ultra concerned with, as I feel that their scoring system, you know, obviously that's something that they're going to work on based on what people are actually scoring in-game. Right now, it's fairly easy for some of the levels to get really high scores, you know, go platinum, and then you look at some of the earlier levels like alpha and gamma and delta, and it's very difficult to get even like gold. So definitely some balancing that needs to be done there, but not something I'm extremely worried about right now. To me, and I imagine the devs, my biggest focus is just that core gameplay experience, seeing how they can better tweak and modify that. Now, of course, we've seen on the menu since the launch, they have grayed out the armory and the profile option. I'm interested to see what they're going to be doing for those, what kind of weapons we're going to see, just what we're going to be able to modify within our armory. I think what we're looking at is really BIOS in its very bare and initial form. You know, it is very much an alpha form, and I'm really excited to see what these guys have planned for it. I haven't been able to find a website. That is one of the things I did want to ask the developers. Maybe I'll pop over and send them a message if they have an official website, if they have some sort of a roadmap. I think that roadmaps are very important for early access games. They look great on your Steam page specifically. When somebody can pop over to Steam Early Access, they see your product, and then they can look at a roadmap and actually see what your plans are moving into the future. Even if they are subject to change, it is better than nothing. Although there can be negative feedback from that, I do feel that some sort of a roadmap that roughly outlines your plans for the future of the game is very important. So maybe we'll see something like that from the devs moving into the future. That being said, I'm going to continue to check out BIOS and try and master my times on some of these levels. I'll probably do a video regarding Baltic because I feel that that map is an entirely different beast, but one that I'm definitely excited to try and master, or at least better myself in. If you guys still haven't checked out BIOS, I will have a link to the Steam page down in the description below. You know, give it a go. Check out the website. Check out my past video. I'll have that also in an annotation. You guys can see my initial impressions of the game. And once again, I'm just kind of excited to see this thing grow. I'm pretty much exhausted the content that is currently here, so I'm excited to see the first big patch from the developers, and I'll definitely bring you guys my coverage on the game as it continues to develop. If you have any other questions for me regarding anything that you saw in this video or anything on a personal level regarding my thoughts on BIOS, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one.